I'm Tom Goodell, WKY 91.3 General Manager. Thanks also to DeBron Thomas for serenading us for the last 20 minutes or so. DeBron is one of our producers at WKY. You can also hear him on Monday mornings if you want to get the line on what's happening in the Lexington music scene with his local Music Mondays. That's part of our morning edition. Thanks also to Ellis Tacos over here. They will be providing some excellent food for us as we go through the morning. And thanks, of course, to everyone here for helping us bring StoryCorps to Lexington in 2017. In a few moments, you'll hear from some of our participants today, Mayor Jim Gray and also PG Peoples of the Urban League. Every Friday on WKY 91.3, StoryCorps brings you stories that are touching, poignant, remarkable, occasionally even funny. So we don't always have to have the tissues out when StoryCorps comes on. But what we've learned participating in this project is that StoryCorps is much more than that 3 minutes. It's an in-depth conversation with somebody you love. It's an opportunity to prepare and preserve that conversation for posterity, for your family, for your neighbors, for your country at the Library of Congress, and maybe even on National Public Radio and WUKY. WKY is proud to bring StoryCorps back to Lexington for a second visit, but this visit would not be possible without our many partners who are here today, and particularly the Lexington Public Library. And I'd like to invite Ann Hammond, Director of the Library, to come up and say a few words. Ann.
Thank you, Tom, and hello, everybody. So throughout time, humans have communicated with each other through stories, from cave paintings to wandering minstrels to literature, art, music, theater, dance. These are all ways that we tell the stories of our human existence. And for us in the public library, our job is to collect stories, both real and fictional, and make them available to our community to help inform and educate and entertain them. So we are really excited to be partnering with WUKY to bring StoryCorps here to collect your stories and save them for posterity, as Tom said. So thank you very much to all of you, to StoryCorps, to WUKY, and to Mayor Gray for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. And as we enjoy the last blast of winter here in Lexington, we'd also like to salute our sponsor for this project. In addition to having partners like the library, the financial support of our sponsors helps make this possible. And Visit Lex has been very generous in helping us with this, and we would like to welcome President Mary Quinn Raymer.
Thank you all. I'm not as tall as you, Ian. It's great to be here today. We're happy to be with our friends at WUKY and all you fine folks. I'm also really happy to be here on the staff of Visit Lex, and in particular, an initiative that we have called Recommend Lex, which is where we use you, locals, to leverage your connections to bring meetings and conventions to town. I just have to note that personally I have a great interest in the mission of StoryCorps and its commitment to listen, honor, and share the stories of our lives. Storytelling is an important platform for growth and discovery, justice, healing, and inspiration. Professionally, I'm delighted that StoryCorps is a vehicle to share our bluegrass stories with the world. Of course, we at Visit Lex want to take that storytelling piece one step further, and we want to encourage people to visit this wonderful city. We want to inspire people to travel and to discover their own stories of Lexington, and that is our central desire with our Recommend Lex initiative. Recommend Lex taps into the tremendous resources of our locals who share our commitment to stories and bringing visitors to town and growing our economy through tourism. So thank you so much for having us here. It's our great privilege to be partners with you in this effort, and we look forward to collecting all of the wonderful stories of Lexington.
When we invited StoryCorps to town, they gave us the opportunity to bring two people in for special interviews to open this day, to be part of the opening day ceremony. People who represent Lexington and who can attest to its trials, its tribulations, and its greatness. And as we were trying to decide who to invite for this, I could not think of anyone better than the president of Lexington's Urban League, PG Peoples. And PG, if you'd come up and say a few words.
Tom caught me a couple of weeks ago, right after I had finished doing the talk, and said, I want you to come over here to do whatever we're doing here today. And being the good guy, I said, yeah, Tom, okay, I'll do it. I had no clue what I was. And time passed, and Tom and I kept missing each other by telephone, and it got to be yesterday, and I said, I'm supposed to do something tomorrow, and I don't know what it is. So finally, Tom and I talked about this time yesterday, and he said, tomorrow you're supposed to be with us at Story Corps, and you're going to be telling a story about you, your life, the Urban League and all, and you're supposed to do it in connection with a partner. And I said, Tom, I haven't said anything to anybody, and I don't even know what we're supposed to talk about. But on my way back to the office, it dawned on me. I've been working for the Urban League 48 years. And the guy right down the hall, Norman Franklin, had been working 37 years. And when Tom described it as just a conversation between two people, I said, that's it, we'll do that. And we just went through that exercise, Norman and I here. And let me tell you, this is a guy who's one of my best friends, a guy who I love. I spent these 30-some years together working. And we had a conversation in there unlike anything that we've had in our lifetime. Very, very emotional. We shared some things that neither one of us has ever shared with each other. And I am so happy now that it's recorded. And it's there for posterity. What I was also able to share with them, and I'll share with you guys, is, I do have a passion for oral history. Tom, it started back when Dr. Ricky Wright was at the University of Kentucky, and it followed with Dr. Gerald Smith. One day I was looking at the paper and I saw that they were doing some oral history projects on elected officials in central Kentucky. It prompted me to say that the Urban League need to take the lead to do that in collecting and saving some of the history of African Americans in central Kentucky. We started that process, got our first grant through the Oral History Commission. We do now have over 300 tapes that we've collected. One set is at the University of Kentucky with Dr. Terry Birdwhistle. Other set is with the Urban League. And a practice that we had with our tapes was that we would give a copy to the family. And a quick story I'll share with them that I think is worth repeating if you bear with me. As I remember, we gave a tape to a family, and one of the members of the family came to me last year, and she said, I just want to tell you what I did with the copy of the tape of my grandmother. She said it was Thanksgiving Day. We had all sat down for Thanksgiving dinner, and she said, and I snuck away and went into the other room and slipped in the tape of our grandmother. And can you imagine the feeling in that room when grandmother's voice just came about? So I often use that one to say that that's the value. That's the value of what we're talking about doing. And let me just say thank you guys. Tom, thanks for bringing them. Thanks for bringing them. And thank you all for doing it. And I encourage any of you all that have not signed up or haven't decided, please participate in this. It's worthwhile. Thank you very much.
And we have filled the first batch of interview appointments, conversation appointments, but there will be another batch that opens up tomorrow. So if you are taking PG seriously here and agree with the importance of preserving your story for the future, tomorrow visit wky.org or storycorps.org. We'll have our links up on our page, and it'll be on their page as well. And you can reserve your time with your friend, your spouse, your family. I think some of the most poignant conversations that I've heard have been those between parents and or children and their grandparents. It's just amazing to have them together in this small space and to hear the kinds of things that come out of those conversations. And I hope you'll be part of that. Well, StoryCorps would not be possible without a very, very dedicated staff. They've driven this van all the way from Mobile, Alabama to here over this past weekend. They were hoping that some of that snow that plagued New England would stay away from us. Unfortunately, it did. And so here they are in Lexington with us for the next almost an entire month. And to give us sort of an inside perspective on the itinerant life of the StoryCorps staff is our mobile booth director, Stacy Todd. Welcome, Stacy. Good to have you in Lexington.
Thank you, Tom. We are very excited to be here. We really couldn't be here without WUKY, without the folks at the library and Parks and Rec, and the whole city of Lexington. So thank you very, very much for bringing us here. So in case you are completely unfamiliar with StoryCorps, it's based on a very simple principle that you sit down with a loved one, somebody that you're interested in asking a few questions, having a conversation with. Make an appointment. You come sit down in one of our booths. You have a 40-minute time slot. It's uninterrupted recording time. You can really talk about absolutely anything you want. Once that's over, you get a copy on CD to share however you like, and then with your permission, we archive it at the Library of Congress. That's something that hasn't been mentioned yet today. We have an archive at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress that has almost 70,000 recordings in it. 70,000. One of them in particular is very important to me. It belongs to my mother and I. This Airstream trailer pulled into my hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan a few years back, and I was lucky enough to get one of the appointments to sit down with my mom and have an uninterrupted conversation. It's not very often that we sit down and look at each other in the eyes and put our cell phones away and have a conversation where we just truly listen to each other. From the first question I asked her, she surprised me. My first question was, "Mom, what's your earliest memory?" I always thought my mom was a goody two-shoes and always followed the rules, but her answer, without skipping a beat, I said, "What's your first memory?" And she said, "Lighting my brother's archery set on fire." And from that moment on, she surprised me. I learned more about her in that 40 minutes than I think I had in the past 10 years probably. And that's something that we hear from people when they exit the booth is, "I never knew that about my mother. I never knew that about my boyfriend, neighbor, coworker, whoever." People are learning things about each other in this space. It's really we do call it our sacred space. It's an important little place where you can ask questions and listen. It's about listening. That's the whole mission of StoryCorps, is to bridge gaps between people, encourage a culture of listening. So anyway, all that said, I'm going to wrap up, but I want to reinforce this fact that we're opening more appointments tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Go to storycorps.org, sign up for a spot. They are going to go fairly quickly, so I really do mean go on the website at 10 a.m. Thank you again to WUKY and the library here in Parks and Rec. I'd like to introduce my team who's here right now with me. Naomi Black, she's going to be our facilitator who's here. We have one more facilitator, Felix Lopez, who's been delayed by crazy traveling from New York City. He is going to be recording conversations in Spanish as well. And then we're very excited to have Lisa Van Brackle here today. She's our Chief Program Officer for StoryCorps, just visiting Lexington for the day. We're hoping to watch some basketball, watch some horse racing, and maybe drink some bourbon. So if anybody has any recommendations, please let us know. Thank you so much again, Tom. I'm going to give it back to you.
Thank you, Stacy. I love that story about your mom. That's exactly what happens in the StoryCorps booth. In fact, you never know what's going to happen in the booth, and that's what makes it so exciting and so wonderful, so special. It's such a simple idea to just get people to sit down for 20, 40 minutes and talk. But as you said, Stacy, we don't really do that as much as we used to. Those cell phones are in the way all the time, and this is a chance to put those aside and really get to what matters with folks in your family. Well, last but not least, we would like to thank the City of Lexington and the Department of Parks and Recreation for providing us with this space to park the mobile booth during its stay here in Lexington. Without their support, we'd be out on the streets. So it is so very valuable to have a partner like the City of Lexington and to present a little token for the day, a little proclamation, we have the Honorable Mayor Jim Gray.
Thanks, Tom. Well, we are in the sunshine, but it is a little chilly, so I will take off my gloves and I will do what mayors do, and that is to issue proclamations, Tom. It's really a big deal to have StoryCorps with us. And so I want to thank everybody, Stacy, for everybody that's involved for being here. It's a big deal in Lexington. It's a big deal across the country. So what I'm going to do, though, is put the lens right here on Lexington and declare today as StoryCorps Day in Lexington. All right? Now, that was an applause line, guys. Okay, thank you. All right. Now I'm going to read a little bit of it. It says here, there's a bunch of whereases, and I'm going to try to abbreviate. I'm going to truncate it a little bit. But what it says is this. The proclamation reads, whereas since 2003, StoryCorps has been preserving the stories of people from all walks of life, and whereas StoryCorps teaches us the value of listening as well as talking, and whereas StoryCorps is creating an invaluable archive that involves a wide diversity of participants to build connections between people today and provide an invaluable resource for future generations, and whereas we welcome StoryCorps to Lexington and thank WUKY for its role in bringing the StoryCorps team to our city, now therefore I, Jim Gray, as mayor of Lexington, do hereby declare Thursday, March 16, 2017, as StoryCorps Day in Lexington. Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
And in about 10 minutes, Jim will be stepping inside the door here to tell his story. So we're looking forward to that as well. And many of these, portions of them, will be broadcast on WKY throughout the next 6 months, the next year or so. So look forward to that as well. Well, thank you, Mayor Gray. Thanks to everyone. You may have heard the news today that the administration's FY 2018 budget blueprint has been released, and it proposes, among other things, an end to funding for public broadcasting. Federal funding for public broadcasting is essential to the future of both WUKY and StoryCorps, and so we hope you'll make your voice heard not only in this booth, but also on this important issue. And there will be more information about how you can do that at WUKY.org. You can also visit protectmypublicmedia.org. A couple of other quick announcements. WKY's Spring Fund Drive, speaking of money, starts 1 week from today. And then on April 19th at the Restore on Southland Drive, we'll have our annual vintage LP and equipment sale, audio equipment sale. It's your chance to get that last 8-track player that you have always wanted. We do have one, don't we? We have an 8-track player coming. So if you've been wanting to play those old Elvis 8-tracks, we can help you with that. And all the details about all of those things will be at WUKY.org. Also, please join us tonight at Bell's Cocktail Lounge, 156 Market Street at 6 o'clock. They're sponsoring a special happy hour, and they have even created a StoryCorps drink that I can't wait to get a try of that. And also over here, Ellis Tacos. They've come today to help keep us warm and fed during this event, so please stop by and take advantage of that. And again, thank you all. Have a wonderful day. And stay tuned to 91.3 WUKY. All right. Thank you.